The old Volkswagen Golf rumbled down the narrow road, its headlights cutting through the dense black forest. The air was thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. Lucas shivered, pulling his jacket tighter around him. He had arrived in the heart of the Black Forest, a place of deep shadows and ancient secrets. He was here for a story that had haunted him since childhood. The story of the Black Forest Yeti. Lucas parked his car at the edge of a small village, the only sign of civilization for miles. The houses were dark, most of the villagers already asleep. A lone dog howled in the distance, its mournful cry echoing through the silent night. He grabbed his backpack, heavy with camera equipment and notebooks, and stepped out into the cold night air. The forest seemed to press in on him, a living, breathing entity. He walked towards the village center, his footsteps the only sound breaking the eerie silence. He reached a small clearing, a weathered wooden sign standing sentinel Willkommen im Schwarzwald. But there was no welcome in this place, only an oppressive sense of foreboding. As he ventured further, he noticed something strange in the soft earth, large, inhuman footprints, half obscured by fallen leaves. He knelt down, examining them closely. They were unlike anything he had ever seen before. His heart pounded in his chest. Was this the first sign of the creature he sought? The footprints were enormous, easily twice the size of a man's. They seemed to be a cross between a bear's paw and a human foot, with long, sharp claws. A shiver ran down Lucas's spine. He had dismissed the Yeti legend as folklore, but now, standing here in the cold darkness, doubt gnawed at him. What if there was some truth to the stories? He followed the tracks, his flashlight beam dancing across the forest floor. The air grew colder, the silence deeper. The only sounds were the rustling of leaves beneath his feet and the pounding of his own heart. He felt a prickling sensation on the back of his neck, the unnerving feeling of being watched. The tracks led him deeper and deeper into the forest, away from the village and the faint glow of civilization. The trees grew closer together, their branches intertwining overhead to form a dense canopy that blocked out the moon and stars. The darkness was almost complete now, broken only by the thin beam of his flashlight. Suddenly he heard it, a low growl, deep and guttural, coming from somewhere in the darkness ahead. It was not the sound of any animal he recognized. It was something else, something altogether more primal and terrifying. The next morning, Lucas sought out the oldest resident in the village, a woman named Greta, who lived in a small cottage on the outskirts. Greta had lived in the Black Forest all her life, a keeper of its secrets and stories. She sat by the fire, her wrinkled face etched with the passing of time, her eyes as ancient and deep as the forest itself. Lucas told her about the footprints, about the strange growl he had heard in the night. He asked her if she believed in the Yeti, the creature that haunted the woods. Greta listened patiently, her gaze never leaving his. When he was finished, she nodded slowly. "The Yeti is real," she whispered, her voice hoarse with age. "But it is not a monster, not in the way you think. It is a protector, a guardian of the forest. It only shows itself to those who mean the forest harm." Greta told him stories passed down through generations, tales of a creature that walked upright like a man, covered in thick dark hair. A creature of immense strength and speed with a haunting cry that chilled the blood. She spoke of its intelligence, its ability to disappear into the forest without a trace. Despite Greta's warnings, Lucas was more determined than ever to find the creature. He spent the day preparing, gathering supplies and studying maps of the forest. He knew the risks, but the lure of the unknown, of proving the existence of something extraordinary, was too strong to resist. As dusk settled once more, he set out into the forest, following the path he had taken the previous night. He carried a camera with a powerful lens, a voice recorder to capture any sounds, and a flare gun for protection. The forest seemed to close in around him, the darkness deeper, the silence more profound. He walked for hours, the only sounds the crunch of leaves underfoot and the distant hooting of an owl. The air grew colder, the scent of pine needles stronger. He felt a growing sense of unease, a feeling that he was being watched, followed. But he pushed on, driven by a thirst for knowledge and a touch of fear that only fueled his determination. The footprints reappeared, fresher this time, leading him further into the heart of the forest. He followed them, his senses on high alert, his hand hovering near the flare gun tucked into his belt. The forest held its breath, waiting for him to take another step closer to the unknown.